and welcome to Tech presented by KYZEN, where we will explore common cleaning questions and answers. Let's get started. I would like to introduce KYZEN's own Kevin Buckner.
Thank you, William. Appreciate that. So I decided to do a little presentation today on troubleshooting your aqueous parts washers. So adding chemistry really is just the first step. Then the management of process and the equipment becomes the most important thing to continue, if you will, to get the most cleaning efficacy out of the chemistry you've just added in. So these few slides will help to maybe identify or even troubleshoot some of the specific issues that you probably need to review in a typical preventive maintenance type schedule, or even just to help to identify a specific issue that you may be facing. What is aqueous-based cleaning? And I know that sounds kind of funny question, but for some of you, you're coming from the solvent world, or you're coming from the ready-to-use world, and this can become a very serious issue if you don't manage it. So we take concentrated chemistry, which is in the blue drum, we add the water over to it and get a desired concentration. That's what we're doing. So you simply ask, well, what could go wrong? Well, my parts aren't clean anymore, okay? So our goal here is to clean your parts and keep cleaning your parts through the life of the chemistry. Believe it or not, we don't want you to change out your chemistry either unless you truly have to. But to get to there, we have to make some basic assumptions. So we do pre-work, hedging our bet. You've heard me say this before, hedging our bet on compatibility with the soils, compatibility with the substrates, and lab work actually quantifies that. We need to make sure that that's still in effect. So the question I ask is, what has changed in your process? Typically, the number one thing we see is concentration drift, right? So concentration management typically falls into a preventive maintenance program. Concentration should be monitored for both high and low changes. So find out your target concentration and then monitor that. And when I say monitor, you find a working concentration that works for you, and then work within a plus or minus band within that concentration. So if you're looking at 9% cleaning, go between 8 and 11, or you're going to end up looking like me. You're going to pull your hair out trying to land on 9 every time. The biggest thing to take here is to say, where did you start and where are you at today? So typically in the metal finishing cleaning world, we use conductivity, right? So conductivity to measure and help us control our concentration. If you would, take a look at some of our past Tech to Techs. You'll see some by William and some done by Wayne and Ethan. And we talk about why is concentration important, and wash building chemistries, management and control. That's very, very important. And then Ethan did a really good one on metal cleaning process basics, and he talks about manual concentration monitoring. Probably, I would say the number one issue that is faced today with most all cleaning operations is filtration. We're typically in the remanufacturing world. I am especially. And when we're in that world, we're removing soils from metallic parts, right? And those soils have to go somewhere. So typically they're going to go into the wash solution. From the wash solution, that's going to run through a pump, through filters, okay? And you need to inspect these filters on a regular basis. How do you know when a filter is even spent? So it works on what they call delta P, or differential pressure. As you can see from this example, this is a fresh bag because both of the needles are pointing in the same direction. One is on the inlet side, one is on the outlet side. When you get a differential pressure of 15 psi between those two, you have to switch out your bag. The bag is blind, they call it, or full. It can't stop any more soils going into that filter and making sure that they're not getting back into your bath. Please make sure that you're selecting the correct filter material. There's lots of different kinds of filter material. Spun wound polypropylene, there's yarn, there's cotton, there's even just plain sediment filters, which are a mesh bag, if you will. Just make sure that you're selecting the correct material for the chemistries that you're using so we don't run into any problems. And then look at that correct micron rating, okay? A lot of people will start out with, say, a 5 micron rating bag, realize they have to change it out pretty frequently. So they're changing it out every, hour to an hour and a half. So they'll skip that sections, go to a 50 micron bag. Don't forget, if you go to a 50 micron bag, everything below 50 microns is going to go through that bag, which goes back into your wash, which could be redeposited back onto your parts. Inconsistent cleaning, inspect your equipment on a regular basis. I say this a couple of different times. When you're getting inconsistent cleaning, and we were getting good cleaning when we started out, there's a good possibility you have some clogged nozzles, especially if your filter maintenance isn't correct. There's a chance that, we work with fan and coherent nozzles. There's a chance that both of those are not in alignment. Fan nozzles, if they're aligned incorrectly, actually stop that spray pressure from reaching up into your parts and getting them clean. And you can even talk about missing nozzles. I mean, I went to a guy's place where he was cleaning an oil pan, and he told me he gets a real clean stripe right down the middle of the pan, but the rest of the pan now doesn't seem to be coming out clean. Well, if you take a look at that bottom picture, it's because the nozzle was broken. So he was getting a coherent spray where he should have had a fan spray. And of course, he's not getting the entire part clean. He's getting one part clean, but not the entire part clean. Check for your chemistry losses. This one comes up quite frequently. There's something has happened, and our chemistries in a lot of the worlds that we work with, they lower surface tension to get into itty gritty, nitty little parts, to get into those capillary things and have a pulling action. So you really make sure that you don't have any leaks. Lots of chemistry due to fittings not being completely tight, or a seal incompatibility issue could be a big problem, leading to the type of picture you see there, where you have chemistry kind of going where it wants to go in your system, right? Check for leaks, or even look at exhaust issues, okay? So I recently got a call from a guy to tell me his chemistry usage had really increased this week to almost triple what he was using the week before. So I asked him, what's changed? And he said, well, nothing's changed. And I said, okay, are the parts still coming out clean? He said, yeah, the parts are coming out clean, but I'm just blowing through chemistry. I said, well, check your VFD, your variable frequency drive on your exhaust system. Full speed when you're running, and it goes to a quarter speed when you're not running. That sucks up vapor and you can lose chemistry. No, Kevin, everything's running fine. Can you just come out and take a look for us? A simple inspection revealed this leak that you see right there. Now, he had a sump pump in his drain tray, so the sump pump's always pulling the material out. He didn't even know he had a leak. And that's where, if you look at that's a pretty good stream, that's where most of his product was actually going. Oh, here we go. Number one enemy, everybody's enemy, right? Spraying air. Spraying air creates foam. But why? Well, if you lower the droplet size, pressurize it, and force it through a hole at velocity, you can create foam. Foam can also be created from concentration or temperature. If your concentration's too low or your temperature is too low, defoamers become active, 120, 125 degrees. If that's not maintained, you could entertain yourself a big problem. The good news, defoamer is present in almost all of our cleaning chemistries. And if it's not, you can put it in as a side sump additive. It's something you can actually add. Remember two things about foam, right? A little is okay. 2 to 3 inch layer of foam is fine, as long as you see those little tiny soupy bubbles combining with the bigger bubbles and actually popping. That's what we're looking for. And if that's happening, you're in great shape. If it's not, it's time for a side sump additive. Add a little defoamer in there, and that should go away. Pump cavitation can be another cause of foam, okay? So what a pump does is you have an open suction port, right? And that's the free-flowing side. That's what's feeding the pump. The impeller spins, that generates pressure, and then it's pushed out to wherever you're trying to get that spray pressure. That would be on our side, that'd be the nozzles, where the nozzles actually deliver to the cleaning process itself. In front of that, typically there's a filter screen, like you see sitting on the screen right there, the silver item. If that item itself is plugged, then you will not be flooding the suction side of a pump. You'll be starving the pump. That's going to create cavitation, the formulation of very, very small bubbles that actually implode, very similar to the way ultrasonics works. And then, of course, You can, the way to identify it very simply is take a look at the pressure gauge, right? So if the pressure gauge, I think this one's running about 32 psi, something along those lines. If it's bouncing, if it goes up to 32 psi and then it drops down and it goes back up to 32, then it drops down, and you hear like ball bearings moving around inside of the pump, that's typically cavitation. It will create foam and eventually it will cost you the life of your pump. So some frequently asked questions on this topic. Can KYZEN offer on-site assistance with troubleshooting issues with cleaners and chemistries? Yes, we can. Now, don't forget, guys, we're not cleaning guys, right? We don't manufacture cleaning equipment. We do chemistry. But we know where to get the answers for almost all of the cleaning equipment out there. We know who to call if it becomes a piece of equipment issue. Cost is always a concern when it comes to my cleaners. You know, what typical concentration should you run to be effective for your cleaning process? I can't answer that. We have guys that run between 6% and 8%, or we have guys that run 15 to 18%. The biggest thing that I can stress is we hedge our bet. We want to run at the lowest possible range of chemistry, but still get clean. That's the most important part. Can you help with automated concentration measurement for control of my systems? Yes, we can. The nice thing about those type of systems is you're taking the human element out, right? Because if you're trying to run at 7% and you have somebody manually adding chemistry to that, it's very easy for them to either undershoot or overshoot how much chemistry they're adding into your system. And that can cause other issues, especially if they underfill. You know, if you put into, one of our CCS type systems, whenever the water is flowing into the machine, the CCS is automatically drawing chemistry to mix with that at a desired concentration and putting it into your equipment. Do you work with specific cleaning machine companies? I have 5 different brands in play at my facility. No, we do. Absolutely. The fun part about that is, in a cleaning piece of equipment, it's either belt driven or it's an open door, right? So you put your parts on the belt or you put your parts inside the washer. Wash pump turns on, rinse pump turns on, the dryer does what it's supposed to do, and you take your part out and hopefully it's clean. So it doesn't matter to us what type of equipment you have. We can basically figure out all of it. So I hope this has been a valuable time for you. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to William.
Thanks, Kevin. Thank you guys for watching this Tech to Tech session. If you would like to discuss this topic further or have any questions not answered in this session, please contact your local KYZEN regional manager or send an email to tech@kyzen.com. And we will have someone follow up with you as soon as possible. And if you like this video, be sure to follow us on our social media platforms for more expert cleaning content.